right, guys, so like Michelle said, today we're going to talk about effective goal setting and managing attention and focus in the saddle. So honestly, when I go and do group talks, I feel like it's hard to pick a topic because my view of sports psychology is that it's so individualized, and the way that I view sports and performance is completely different than the way each one of you. Some of us work really well under pressure. Some of us don't work so well under pressure. So understanding how these concepts apply to you is what I want you to be thinking about through today's presentation. I do another talk when I go to clinics that's on mental toughness, and I feel like I've done it so much, so I thought I'd put something new together for you guys today. This is actually the first time I'm doing this specific talk, so I hope you guys enjoy it. You can go ahead and switch slides for me. Michelle stole the thunder of my bio, but I do like to just kind of establish some rapport with you guys and let you know my history and why I got into sport and performance psychology. As a young rider, I got some really bad advice that said, if you don't make it to young riders, you're not going to make it in the industry. So I bought a horse. I was going novice. The horse could go prelim. I was trying to make it to young riders, and I put a lot of pressure on the outcome goals, and everything kind of fell apart. I mentally was not where I needed to be to actually focus on improvement because I was so focused on my scores and checking the boxes for a qualification. So something that I'm super passionate about is talking about the right kind of goals because they channel our focus and they channel the way we think about just about everything in the saddle. After I lost a lot of confidence riding, I actually worked with a sport and performance psychologist as a young rider, got to the training 3-day level and had a great time, and then had another horse that ruined my confidence. So I fell forward, as I like to say, into the grooming scene and spent some time as a vet tech so I could learn what I needed to learn in that aspect. And went on to groom for Jenny Brannigan for about 2.5 years. I was getting my doctorate while I worked for her. So I was like at Lamulin doing my schoolwork and getting to see the high level pressures of the sport, I think really has helped me along my journey. Just really understanding that it doesn't matter if you're going for a trail ride or you're at the biggest 5-star of your life. There's something in this sport that can disrupt your focus, disrupt your attention, and your confidence, really. So now I got my doctorate in 2022. I've been working with mostly equestrians full time ever since. I have a private practice that I work via Zoom for. So it's really been fun for me to give back to the community and really have people enjoy the ride. That's my sweet, beautiful Stella Artois up there. I actually just got the lease on my sweet, beautiful mare that I got to go to all the 5 stars with. So really fun to get back in the saddle as well. As Michelle said, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as my competitive endeavor. So I try to put myself under the pressures of competition to channel and practice all of my sports psychology concepts. One of my philosophies on sports psychology is that a lot of what we learn about in school for sports psychology is this thought a rational thought or is this an irrational thought? If someone comes to me and they're like, ooh, I'm afraid I could fall off and get hurt, that's a pretty rational thought to have, right? I always say like the difference is it the first thought that you're having when you get in the saddle? Because there are very real fears in our sport, and I like to think of it as embracing the harsh realities of life. The harsh realities of the horse world is that if you do it for long enough, something bad is going to happen to you, your horse, your friend. Witnessing bad stuff is just as bad sometimes as having it happen to yourself. So as I've gone through the doctoral process of defending my dissertation and my views of performance psychology, I feel like I've really had to adapt to a different style. I really don't adhere to the fact that just think positively and everything will be okay. You're riding a living, breathing creature with a mind of its own. So that's usually not the best advice. I'm hoping that I can give you guys some things to think about and talk about today that will help you just think a little bit more effectively in the saddle. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is those goals. Again, my personal experience with goals was setting just the outcome goal, right? Like I just want to go to this level and do this thing, and I kind of forgot about everything else. So there's a really great theory in sport and performance psychology called achievement goal theory. And it's basically talking about our intersection of goals and motivation. So we have mastery, approach, and avoidance, and performance, approach, and avoidance. So when I talk about a mastery mindset, that means I am trying to embrace all the aspects of sport and what it actually takes to be better. I'm focused more on the task of what I'm trying to do. When I'm talking about a performance approach, that's based on results. And honestly, sometimes you do have to be based on results, right? I've traveled with teams. The US team doesn't go overseas and spend a bunch of money sending horses saying, I hope we lose today, right? But when that's where your focus is, that's where we tend to run into some problems, right? If I'm just focusing on a result, I'm not focusing on what I'm doing to get to that result. Now, approach and avoidance are something that I feel like is a sticky subject in the world of equestrian, because some things you should avoid. Right? I was laughing. I had one person call me for an intake session, and they were like, my horse has started trying to kick me when I'm on the cross ties. Can you help me not be afraid of that? I said, absolutely not. Right? Like, you should be afraid of that. Like, please be afraid of that. And train your horse not to try to kick you on the cross ties. Again, there are real dangers in this sport and things that are going to help us think and achieve in the right way. So really what we want to look for is having a mastery approach. You want to complete a task for the purpose of self-improvement and learning as much as possible. One of my favorite statements, I did not come up with it, I totally stole it, be curious, not judgmental. If you can be curious about every little blip on the road and not judge yourself for something that's going wrong, even something that's going right. That was something that, as I learned about like fixed versus growth mindset, I was so interested to hear that thinking I'm smart is a fixed mindset. Because if I adhere to this idea of I'm smart and someone asks me a question and I don't know the answer, now I'm like, oh my God, I'm smart. I should know the answer, right? I should be able to do this thing. I went prelim one day. Why am I scared over this log on the ground? There's all these weird little mental tricks that our brain plays on ourselves. But again, when we're more worried about how we look to other people, wanting to get that ribbon to hang up in our ribbon room, or even the avoidance, right? To the desire to avoid the task, to evade embarrassment, shame, self-doubt, or public failure. Fear of failure, I think, is something that I have more people come to me for than fear of falling. It's like, I don't care if I get hurt, but I'm really afraid if someone thinks I'm not doing good enough. That's a bit silly. I think you should be a little bit more afraid of getting hurt and your body and everything like that. So that's just kind of a look at goal theory. We'll go ahead and slip to the next slide. Another topic that relates to our goals is locus of control. So when I talk about locus of control, it's, do you have this internal control where you feel like you have the ability to make things happen? Or do you feel like things happen to you, right? Why me? Why is this happening? This shouldn't be me. Now, this is where I want to get you guys involved, because the reality of our sport is that there are a lot of things that happen that are completely outside of our control. So who can tell me something in the sport that's outside of our control? The weather. What else? Other horses.
Age of the horse.
Age of the horse. What else? We're missing some big ones. Situation. Injury, yeah. Crazy warm-up rings. Other people's opinions. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So there are so many factors in our sport that we can legitimately not control. You can just click through them so they appear. Weather, lameness and injury, outcomes, subjective dressage scores, right? Like you go one weekend and you're like, oh my God, like that was the best test ever. And you're like, a 35? What? A 35? And then you're like, all right, next weekend, I can't believe I got through that dressage test. Like that was the worst thing that I've ever done. And you look, you're like, a 29? Were they watching the same test that I rode, right? Like the reality of, the dressage part of eventing is that it's pretty subjective. Competition conditions, how great, again, crazy warm-up rings, who you're competing against. That girl has a $300,000 horse and you're on your dollar thoroughbred. Like this is what happens when we compare ourselves to other people and we're focusing on those things that are more related to other people. Go ahead. Other people's opinions. Who's watching, right? You go to the show, who's around? Do you care that it's all the big advanced riders and stuff riding their baby horses in your division? Some people care about their peers, right? Their trainers. These are all things that are going to get in the way of our goals and our focus. So just being able to identify, am I focusing on the things that I can control or the things that I can't control? And that's a huge piece of starting mental mastery. If you can't change something, guess what? You can't change something, right? It's out of your control. So why waste any time, energy, or effort focusing on that thing when you can reinvest and focus on something that you can control? So we're going to talk about now how you take this and set some goals for yourself. Raise your hand if you've heard of SMART goals before. Yes, specific, measurable, action-oriented, time-specific, realistic. I do not like SMART goals. I do not like SMART goals. Do you know why? I set this really super specific, realistic, action-oriented, time-specific goal, and my horse got an abscess. I set this really specific, measurable, action-oriented goal, and I broke my collarbone. I wanted to go to this show and do this thing, and it got canceled. How are you then achieving your goals? You're not. And we love to achieve goals. It's why anyone in this room is doing anything with a horse, right? Beyond your needs of feeding yourself, clothing yourself, having safety, what we want in life is to feel like we're self-actualizing. So we're choosing something that's hard to say, ooh, I accomplished that. Like, that's a great feeling. That's what we want in life. And so when you're setting a SMART goal and you feel like there's all these external factors that we can't control, it doesn't feel very good. So I'm going to talk to you about my goal setting framework that I use with my clients. And it's all about breaking it down into 3 categories. There's only 3 things that we can train in sport: our body, our craft, and our mind. I actually brought some worksheets with me, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass them out now just in case anyone wants to write along, or you can sort of do a mental exercise. I know it's not the best for writing, and just keep these for later, but I wanna pass them out now just so you have something to follow along with. Give me a second. Thank you. I'm just gonna send a half of a pile and a half of a pile down. Go there, and there, take one and pass it. Make sure you're sharing it. So when we think about these 3 categories, we'll just start by explaining. A physical goal is something related to your physical fitness capabilities. Are you flexible enough, strong enough, cardiovascularly fit enough? Do you have injuries that are getting in the way of your goals? Like, what are these things physically that are blocking you from doing what you want to do successfully. Mental goals, we talk about things like focus and confidence, emotional regulation. Do you know how to think the right thoughts to help you achieve your main goal? And then the technical goals are going to be the things that you're working on with your trainer, the things that you're working on because your friend said, oh, I tried this really cool thing and it's going to happen under saddle. Like, the technical goals are not my aspect of the sport. I always tell people I'm not a very good horseback rider. That's why I quit. I love it. Not very good. I'm pretty good at jiu-jitsu though. I'm a Pan American silver medalist in jiu-jitsu. So pretty good at jiu-jitsu, not great at horseback riding. The technical aspect is going to be, do you know how to collect the canter? Do you know how to jump the corner that's on your course? Like, what sort of aspect of the goal are you looking for? And then your main goal, this is where I don't want it to get clouded. You're allowed to have a main goal of wanting to win, of wanting to go to a big FEI, of wanting to accomplish some sort of ego-oriented, performance-related goal. But you always want to have other goals underneath of that main goal so you feel like you can constantly be working towards something, right? If my horse goes lame, I want to be able to double down on my physical fitness and my mental health. If technically I am missing something and I have my horse available, I want to take a lot of extra lessons. Confidence is something that I talk about a lot with people. If you are not capable of jumping a 4-foot fence, you shouldn't feel confident jumping a 4-foot fence, right? There are ways that these goals bleed into each other, because sometimes when I have a physical injury, mentally I'm not going to feel as strong and as clear. But again, when you identify these things of, I need to do X, Y, and Z, you can ask yourself the simple question, how am I working towards my goals in performance-enhancing ways today? So go ahead and switch the slide there. So I want everyone, whether you write it down or not, to think of right now at least one mental goal, one physical goal, one technical goal, and then I want us to share, because I think it's so powerful to hear other people's goals and other people's opinions. So I'm going to give you a minute or two here. Again, you don't have to write it down. If your hands are cold and you're like, I'm not doing it right now. Just think about it and we'll revene in a minute. Ooh, get some water. All right, who can give me an example of a mental goal? I picked the hardest one first, so. Anyone?
I need to get my confidence back after an accident.
Yeah,
It's not, it comes and it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, getting confidence back after an accident. And I would expand on that, because we want to how check our goals, right? So how are you doing that? Defining what confidence means to you, right? Does it mean showing up every day consistently? Does it mean sitting really tall in the saddle? Like, what parts of confidence can you turn and make tangible so you can, again, then take those little pieces one step further? But that's fantastic. Any other mental goals?
I have anxiety that I can't remember the course in my lessons, so I can't remember the course lessons.
Yeah. Don't think about a pink elephant. What's the first thing that you think about? A pink elephant, right? So when you have this anxiety over not remembering a course, okay, well, can we focus on some memory tools, some training outside of the saddle? Like, that's the one thing. I think people think the mental side is just going to come together in your rides. Just like the physical side, you have to have a plan. Like, what am I doing to help these things outside of the time that I'm most stressed out about it? If you are nervous in show jumping warm-up and you only go to a couple shows a year, how are you actually improving your nerves in show jumping warm-up if you're not addressing those feelings outside of it? Not exaggerating failure. We're going to talk about that a little bit later with our mental red flags. But no, definitely, I think that's a very common problem. And again, that's once you have the goal, you say, how can I work towards this goal today? Sometimes it's all about choice, right? What am I choosing to think about? Anyone else for mental? What about physical goals?
I'm not sure where this falls in, but my horse is afraid of cows.
Your horse is afraid of cows. Yeah, so do you feel like you need to be strong enough to get through?
Well, I've gotten unloaded several times.
Yep.
To get through. So in my mind, I need to find somebody to help me train her to get past cows.
Okay, so I'm going to put that one in the technical category, but that is a fantastic technical goal, right? Like, this, you can't control the cows in the environment. We're going to need to put some buttons on to deal with the cows. Any other physical?
Being able to work within physical limitations.
Yeah, I think that's a great one, right? Like, being able to acknowledge the really real physical limitations that you have, and then acceptance for that as you achieve your other goals as well.
Stay balanced, be on the tripod.
Yeah, stay balanced, be on the tripod. Awesome.
Age.
Age.
Falling apart of the body.
It's I think what I hear a lot from the aging crowd is like, ooh, I don't bounce like I used to.
Don't follow the motion anymore.
Yeah.
Do about it.
Yeah. Again, acceptance. Like, that's one thing that I talk about a lot is, okay, if this is the reality, how am I changing my approach and what I can handle today based on that? I know it's so hard. We're going to talk about that a little later too. You guys are bringing up my mental red flags already. How about technical goals? Who's got technical goals they're working on, either themselves with their trainers? Anything that comes to mind?
Jumping ditches.
Jumping ditches, great one, right? That's a almost very specific goal, right? You kind of get into SMART goals with that. You can make a very specific plan to jump ditches more.
Or liver pools.
Yep, liver pools.
I can't decide which of the three goals this is, but to be able to react faster.
Be able to react faster. I would put that in a mental and kind of a hybrid, right? Like, being able to react faster, but knowing then how to react faster.
Technical in a sense because it's in that moment where there's a bit of a hesitation in the horse, there's a bit of this, 5-star riders do this so well, and they just, I don't know how they pivot that fast.
Yeah.
They react that fast to, but that to me is a goal, to anticipate, to feel it faster and react faster.
Yeah, and that's training, right? That's training. That's where I agree. It's physical. But when we talk about learning, what we want to do is be able to program those skills into what's called our automatic processing system.
I think of it as thinking how to get my right mind thinking faster and faster.
Yeah, and training your body to do what it needs to do in the moment. I always use the example of posting the trot, right? Because once you know how to post, 6 months later, you don't go up, down, up, down, up, down. And every time you level up a skill, that's what you want to be doing, is programming that into your automatic processing system. In the back there? Geometry and dressage. That's a very common technical goal. And, well, don't even get me started about dressage. Having to think about what to do and where to go at the same time. Focus, attention. Again, that's something that you can use a mental skill, mental imagery to get better at, right? So if you're thinking about the geometry of your test and also incorporating some of our mental cues in there, that's a great sort of hybrid strategy. So I think everyone's got sort of an idea of like how those goals fit into separate categories. Again, there's gonna be overlap, but I want you to feel like if one of these things falls off the table for a certain reason, you can still answer that question, what can I do to work towards my main goal, right? I wanna go 3-star, and my 3-star horse gets put down, and now I'm starting again at the beginner novice level with a new partner. Why did I wanna do that goal in the first place? It's challenging. I like the connection with the horse, and I want to push myself to do hard things. Well, starting a new partnership with a new horse is arguably just as challenging. So now the inherent value of the actions that you want to take are still in place, even though your goal gets taken out from under you. So that's, again, these are way different than I just want to go to the 3-star. I want to go to the 3-star, and here's all the things it's going to take to get there, and I can work on that even without a horse. So go ahead and go to the next slide. Another thing I wanted to touch on here is how to turn some of these goals into what are called focus cues, refocusing commands, cue words. Again, this is where we're not talking about I'm awesome, I'm the greatest rider, I'm Boyd Martin going into this 5-star course. It's about creating things that help draw your attention into the moment and to what's most important right now. So for your physical goal, it could be add in 2 to 3 sessions at the gym to help lower leg stability and strength. So a cue word that comes from that goal is leg on, right? Like you're trying to keep, the goal is to get more strong so that you can keep your leg on. Well, in the moment in your ride, you're reminding yourself, leg on. I also added these little mental imagery cues because this is something that I do a lot. If I told someone to come up here and jump, right, like just jump off the ground, they might, do a little one of these for me. But if I ask someone to say, hey, can you jump like there's a pile of snakes underneath of you? All of a sudden, the second one elicits a stronger response, right? So we have to play tricks on our brain to help get it to focus. Of course, you need your leg on. Your trainer said it 12 times. They're sick of saying it, right? But if you can start to think you're holding a piece of paper between your leg and the saddle, that creates a stronger mental image. An example of a mental goal that I had would be to practice breath work to relieve tension before shows. Again, simple cue word, breathe. How many people forget to breathe? Yes, we all do it, right? So having that pre-prescribed cue word to say, I know at this point in my dressage test, I probably haven't breathed for the last 6 movements. I need to make sure I breathe here. For our mental imagery, you can pretend that you're blowing on a pinwheel, forcing out negative energy. So like really putting some energy behind that breath. And then our technical goal, my example is more accuracy in my geometry for dressage tests. So cue word was just be here for this one, because that's about being in the present moment. Sometimes when, again, we're trying to balance riding the test and riding the horse, it's because we're getting way too far ahead of ourselves. And so we need to bring our attention back in the present moment. My friend Emily Hamill, 5-star rider back there, she uses a be here now cue word for herself. And for mental imagery, drawing out lines of where you're going in your mind. So like physically creating a color, a line, a pattern. I had a rider who had a bad accident in one end of her arena, and it was like, it's the red place, right? Like I can't go to that side of the arena because it's the bad place. So I said, okay, so this side of the arena is green. You like this side of the arena. what if you could take a little piece of that green with you into the red? So we kind of pictured herself in a hamster wheel of green safety, and that's what helped her start riding on the bad side of the arena. So we just play these little mental tricks with ourselves. Go ahead to the next. So I want you guys to create 3 to 5 refocusing commands. So just take a couple seconds here to think about, like, what would be something that I could tell myself that's inside of my control, that's action-oriented, and that's related to some of the goals that I just set for myself. I'm going to give you a minute or two here. Get some more water. Does anyone already use keywords? Yeah, what are some of the keywords you already used before tonight?
I often say, take a breath.
Take a breath, yep.
Breathe, yeah.
Breathe.
Sit tall.
Just ride.
I use believe.
Believe. I like that. Ted Lasso.
Forward is my friend.
Forward is my friend. I love it. Did anyone think of something new, especially thinking about like the mental imagery side of things?
To remember, so remember all the good when you think things are going to go bad. It's like, oh, well, we've done this before, we're going to be fine.
Yeah, remember all the good. That's huge. Like, one of the easiest things that you can do to build your confidence is just write down 3 good things that happen in every ride, right? You write down 3 good things that happen in every ride. You get to a show that's 2 weeks later. All of a sudden, you have a bunch of good things to look at. Our brains love to look for patterns, right? So if you're telling your brain, look at all these good things that can happen on the horse, brain's gonna be like, great, this is awesome, like, let's do this today. But if you tell your brain all the bad things that could happen when you ride a horse and all the bad things that had happened, brain goes, not today, right? We shouldn't do this. And it's funny, I talk to people a lot about what I do and theories and philosophies. I think it's so much easier to work with someone who's like, I'm scared because I fell off. Good! That means your brain's working. There is a part of your brain that is telling you exactly what it should after you've had a fall. Amazing. What can we do about that? I do a blog series for Eventing Nation called Between the Ears, and I interview upper-level riders on some of these topics, and Hannah's super net. Like, that was one of the things that she told me as she was getting back on after she broke her back. She was like, I was shaking, and there's a moment where I had to say to myself, I'm a 5-star rider, like, why am I shaking? And being able to flip it and say, how cool is that? That my body knows that the last time I was on a horse, I got hurt and it's trying to protect me. So much of pain and fear is based on our thoughts and appraisals. And guess what? You can control those as much as you don't like to hear that. People do not like to hear, oh, you're in control of how you interact with your thoughts. You're not in control of what thoughts come into your brain, which is a lot about what we're about to talk about. There are so many maladaptive patterns that come into our brain, but you get to decide how you react to that. Any other mental imagery keywords anyone thought of? I have the tools to overcome this. I love it. One of my clients sent me, there was like a horsemanship person that had like a little button on the psoas muscle, and it's literally like a picture of a skeleton and says, this button is your confidence button, like engage your psoas muscle and you'll have a good seat. And that's something that I send to people all the time because I like, engage your confidence button, get your seat in the right place. Our body and being like physically comfortable on a horse is so intertwined with our confidence. You can control your body, do it. Right. So we're gonna start talking about our mental red flags. As I was putting this together, I kind of giggled because if I meet with someone that's really, really anxious, I'm like, they're not ready. They're not ready to have this information because they're going to start to read all of these things and they're going to say, oh my God, I'm broken. I do every single one of these. So what I love about this is that we're all here today, and what I say is someone made up this list for a reason, right? So we're actually going to go through, these are called cognitive distortions. I did not create them. They are a part of a psychological assessment called the cognitive distortions assessment, and it's basically like, how many bad patterns of thinking do you have? Pretty intimidating, right? But we all have them. And there's a reason they made them. Because they say, these aren't helping you, so let's start to be aware. So on the back of the goal setting worksheet, I do have a list of the cognitive distortions. If you want to use that to take notes of what they are, or an example of maybe what it meant to you. I do want to go through each one of these and would love for you guys to be vulnerable with me here today and share some of the examples of times that you have had these cognitive distortions, because again, this is something that I think we all go through. I created some examples, but I would love to hear yours as well. Our first one is called all or nothing thinking. So you see things in black and white categories. If your performance falls short of perfect, you see yourself as a failure. For example, if I don't finish in first at this event, it means I'm a terrible rider and I should quit competing altogether. Who's ever had a thought like this before? Yeah? Any other examples that fall under that, or like a time that you've had a thought like this?
It's terrible.
No one wants to share with me? Becky? Yeah, horse gets tense. I'm gonna die. Horse gonna die. Pretty common. Thank you. We'll move on to our next. Overgeneralization. You see a single negative event as a never-ending pattern of defeat. I had one refusal on course today. This always happens to me, and I'll never ride a clear round again. Who's got an experience for that? Any specific examples?
Well, I'm so sorry about repeating cows.
The cows.
I have had so much success at a certain event, and I get a new horse who is cow-phobic. And that's why the first one is all or nothing. I'll never be able to do this again. And overgeneralization, the cows will be the end of me, and I'll never be able to do this again.
The cows will be the end of me. Might be a real thought. No, I'm kidding.
It's so pathetic.
It's not pathetic though, because again, like, these are things that our brain kind of do because they think it's protective, right? They're afraid of what might happen on that other side. Your brain is trying to protect you all of the time. And we live in a world where protection in a physical sense comes pretty easily. So all of that energy that your brain's done as a caveman to keep you warm and safe and fed goes on to making sure like your ego is fed in the right way. And your brain's like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. It's okay. It's about recognizing, right? We don't want to stick to these thoughts. We want to just be able to recognize. Next one. Mental filter. You pick out one single negative detail and dwell on it exclusively so that your vision of reality becomes darkened, like the drop of ink that discolors the entire beaker of water. So, our example, I nailed the dressage test and the show jumping round, but all I can think about is the one rail we dropped in stadium. It ruined everything. Those darn colored rails. Anyone ever had that thought before? Yeah? Any other examples of what might fit into a mental filter?
Down jump.
Down jump?
Drop.
Yeah? Dropping? Yeah?
Drop. Yeah, drop.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll go on to the next. Disqualifying the positive. I think this one's a pretty common one. You reject positive experiences by insisting they don't count for some reason or other. In this way, you maintain a negative belief that is contradictory to your everyday experiences. So my trainer just complimented my position, but they were probably just being polite. I'm only doing well because I have a nice horse. Imposter syndrome, that's a really good topic to bring up with this one. What other things do you guys potentially disqualify the positive for? Emily.
So this could possibly be the other one too. But like a personal example for me is at the Maryland Black Star last year. Like I had a phenomenal cross country there, except for one flip towards the end of the course. And like for me, I mean we finished it, it was great, whatever. But like I just focused on that one so much. It was like the rest of the round was perfect, and then I just didn't read that question correctly.
Yeah, and again, like going back to our protective brain, there's a reason that that's stuck in your head, because it's like, oh, this is the thing that you didn't like, so let's think about that more so you don't do it again, right? You have a beautiful course, one bad jump, it's going to try to disqualify the positive, right? And it's hard to say, ooh, like I'm really proud of that. Self-compassion research is huge in my field. People hate that word. They're like, ugh, self-compassion. Do you know what self-compassion is actually empirically tied to? Mental toughness. Being tough is actually being kind to yourself. And I would argue that it's way harder in our judgmental world to be kind to yourself than it is to criticize, right? So it's really easy to say, oh, I can't believe that one jump. And it's also really easily, Emily, to look at the scores and say, look at where I would have been, right? Look at where I would have been had I not just made that one mistake. But if the experience overall has all these other positive attributes, you have to be able to look towards those. Mind reading. You arbitrarily conclude that somebody is reacting negatively to you, and you don't bother to check this out or get any more information. So, you know, your busy coach who has 12 students at the show probably thinks I'm useless after that stop in cross country. They didn't even say anything, but I know they're disappointed. I think mind reading is a really interesting one for equestrians because we love to mind read what our horse is thinking too. Right? Oh my God, he must hate me. I can't believe he has to put up with me on his back today, right? Like, stop, please stop. Anyone for mind reading? Any examples there?
This is one I actually deal with at work a lot.
Yeah.
My coworkers, and we always try to tell ourselves, like, this is a story I'm telling myself.
Yeah. The story I'm telling myself is big. Fortune teller error. You anticipate that things will turn out badly, and you feel convinced, sorry, the glare is really great. I don't have these memorized, by the way, that your prediction is already an already established fact. So this competition is going to be a disaster. My horse will spook and will probably get eliminated again. There's going to be cows there. It's going to be awful.
And a down jump.
And a down jump. Like, again, this is deciding that you don't have the skills that you need to have before you've even gone. I think the fortune teller error also is lumped in with low confidence, right? Because you're already deciding these bad things are going to happen. But if you think about something else, maybe you can prevent them from happening, right? Next one. This one's really big. Catastrophizing, also called magnification. You exaggerate the importance of things such as your goof up or someone else's achievement. So I made a tiny mistake in my canter transition during the dressage test. The judges must think I'm completely incompetent. So these are those little tiny mistakes or little things that go wrong that then turn into 10 more mistakes. The ability to refocus and say, okay, like, I'm not going to catastrophize that one thing. I'm going to be able to move forward. I see this a lot in the ride that you have before a show. Oh, it just like wasn't good. Show's going to be the worst experience ever. Why? We all have bad days. We can have a great day the next. Like, you're deciding a future that doesn't have to be true because of the thoughts that are going on in your brain. Go on to the next. Minimization's the opposite. You inappropriately shrink things until they appear tiny, your own desirable qualities or the other person's imperfections. This is also called the binocular trick. So if you win your division and you're minimizing the fact that you won your division, it was just a small local show, it's not like it really matters. I have a problem with this sometimes, like, for sure. For me, I'm like, oh, it's just a doctorate. I'm not. I really feel that way. Like, school was really easy for me, so I'm like, whatever. I just wanted to get more education. Like, it was fun. Not a big deal. You're like, oh, you work out that? No, like, it's not a big deal. But again, you should be able to own your experiences and own the good stuff, because that is a lot of where our confidence comes from. Emotional reasoning. You assume that your negative emotions necessarily reflect the way things really are. I feel it, therefore it must be true. I feel like I'm a bad rider today, so it must be true. Everybody probably saw how awful I looked out there. Your feelings are just feelings, just like thoughts are just thoughts, right? You have to decide what meaning you want to enact from them. I don't want you to get stuck in this emotional reasoning of like, oh, I feel this thing, so I have to forever. Decide that you want to overcome it. Decide to choose something else. We're going to talk about how to do it a little bit too, but just wanted you to think about these things. This one is like, I think everyone in this hand would raise their hands if I said, do you ever do this? Should statements. You try to motivate yourself with shoulds and shouldn'ts, as if you had to be whipped and punished before you could be expected to do anything. Musts and oughts are also offenders. The emotional consequence is guilt. I'm going to read that part again. The emotional consequence is guilt. I should have done that better. You didn't. Oh my gosh, now you feel guilty about it because you thought you should have. It goes back to that fixed versus growth mindset that we were talking about. If I'm stuck and I think like I'm an athlete and I am at this particular level, so I should have done better than I did today, then you're not giving yourself the skills and resources to improve the way that you need to improve. You're stuck in the should. I should always have a perfect round or I'm not good enough to compete at this level. I shouldn't ever make mistakes. It's unacceptable. Is that true? Who shoulds themselves? Yeah, you guys stop shoulding yourself. I should be able to do that. Why? Why? Emily, I bet you feel like you shouldn't have had that stop on cross country. Barry's a pretty awesome horse. Go ahead. Labeling and mislabeling. This is an extreme form of overgeneralization. Instead of describing your error, you attach a negative label to yourself like, I am a loser. So I'm such a failure because I jumped the wrong jump. What if you're just human? What if everybody makes mistakes, right? Like, we label things. Labels are so dangerous. I am the kind of person who. All of a sudden you act in a way that's not what you should think that label should be, and it's all messed up. So these all kind of intertwine together. I think there's a couple more maybe. I don't know how many more there are. Personalization, I think this is the last one. You see yourself as a cause of some negative external event, and which in fact you are not primarily responsible for. My horse got an abscess before the show because I am cursed. and I do not deserve to show. Who's guilty? Yeah. So again, I wanted to share these because I want you to be aware of some of the things that get in our way. And this is just a list of 12. There's so many things that get in our way. Talk a little bit about how we can sort of do something about it. So I've got this great picture here of a lady playing tug of war. One of my absolute favorite psychologist of all time is Dr. Stephen Hayes. Now, Dr. Stephen Hayes worked on what's called acceptance commitment therapy, and it is a theoretical orientation that I love, right? Acceptance commitment therapy is about accepting the things that we can't change and committing to the things that we want in life. It's about being really clear about what our values are, what drives us, and how we can live life up here just a little bit better. So drop the rope. What does that mean? What that means is if I had a rope between me and you, and I am all of those cognitive distortions and those negative thoughts, and I'm a byproduct of all your experiences, bad experiences, good experiences, things that other people have told you, and I am pulling you to me, saying, hey, why don't you think this negative thought? Why don't you think badly about yourself? What should you do? I'm the rope. You drop the rope. It is not that easy, right? I call my job easy hard. It's easy to recognize the problems, it's harder to overcome them. But when you have the skills to drop the rope and recognize and understand, oh crap, this is one of those really bad patterns of thinking that Dr. Tyler was talking about, can I choose a different thought in this moment? Can I overcome this by picking something different? Also from Dr. Hayes, the art of diffusing thoughts is noticing them. So we've got this great little diagram here. And we've got sad little character Joe up there. He says, I'm stupid. And then he starts to say, I'm having the thought that I'm stupid. And then I notice I'm having the thought that I'm stupid. Again, our automatic thoughts aren't necessarily super in our control. If I'm driving down the highway, I might have that really weird intrusive thought that's like, you could slam into that 18-wheeler next to you right now and die. Right? You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. You're gonna be like, that's a weird thought. Why did that come into my head? Why don't we do that with all thoughts? That's a weird thought. Why did it come into my head? Is it helpful or is it unhelpful? And if it's unhelpful, what else can I think about right now that's gonna be just a little bit better for me? I notice I'm having the feeling or the thought that is a fantastic and powerful statement, because what it does is it gives you the tools to put some space between that automatic and your goals and what you want to achieve and your focus. So if I'm trying to pick up the left lead canter and I start thinking, I am never gonna be able to pick up the left lead canter, you're never gonna be able to pick up the left lead canter because you're not thinking about inside leg to outside rein. Is my horse through its back? Do I have it on the bit? All of these things are getting in the way of what you need to do to be successful. So this is just a little diagram of what's called psychological flexibility. And that is the goal of all of these concepts. So contact with the present moment. I love to talk about the present moment. It's all we have, right? There's such a difference between anxiety and fear. If a bear ran right through this door right now, we would all be very afraid. We would not be anxious about it, right? We would be afraid. We would run. But if that happened this week and you came back next week, y'all would be a little anxious that a bear is coming again, right? That's like fear and anxiety live in two different planes. Being able to contact the present moment and stay in the present moment is where your success lies. So you can do that through strategies like mindfulness, grounding, breathing, making sure that your feet are underneath you and you're in your body. Values, what's important to you? Why are you doing this? You are choosing to spend a lot of time, energy, and money on this sport, right? Why? Why is it valued to you and why is it important? And if your value is to have fun and you've got all these thoughts that don't make it fun, great, let's start making some choices to make it fun again. Let's start overcoming those bad patterns of thinking. Committed action is all about taking these steps towards the things that we want in life to be better, to feel whole, to feel like we're achieving the goals that we set out to achieve. And that's not an empty goal like, ooh, I hope I look better than my friend in my lesson today. That's a goal for self-improvement. And when you have that and you're committed to the mastery and the lifelong endeavor of your sport, you can't be beat. Self as a context and cognitive diffusion are that little bit of like, whatever's going on up here is just an experience that I get to choose and I get to be the master of. If I lived on every thought that came into my brain, not be a very fun place, right? I have like the weirdest thoughts. I was at a jiu-jitsu tournament in Augusta on the way down here, Atlanta. I flew down to Atlanta on Saturday, competed in a jiu-jitsu tournament. This girl took me by my gi. I don't know who knows about jiu-jitsu, but it's like a uniform and you can choke each other with it. And this girl's like taking my basically jacket and wiping the mat with me. I'm like, oh my God, this bitch is crazy, right? And I'm like, oh, what do I do about this? I had to take a breath and say, all right, I can be crazy too. Let's bring it on. I was losing in the first 2 minutes. All right, I don't have to, if I said she's crazy and I'm gonna lose, I would have. But if she's crazy, I can be crazy too. I got to a point where I could take back control, be in charge, and I won the match. It's mental toughness, right? I hurt her, I broke her arm. A little bit, just a little bit. Jiu-jitsu is really fun, you guys should all try it. But being able to not, like, the way that we interact with thoughts is so interesting, right? If I tell you you have 2 minutes left in a race, and you go, oh my God, I can't go for 2 more minutes, you're gonna stop, you're not gonna finish the race. But if I tell you you have 2 minutes left and you're like, oh my God, only 2 minutes? Let's go, I can't wait, I'm excited. You're gonna finish the race. Your reaction is based on these thoughts that we have. Talked about acceptance a lot. Acceptance for the things that we are and we have and the baggage that we carry around with us, right? Like, that's okay. I've got these experiences that might influence my thoughts. It doesn't mean that I have to be weighed down from them. If I can accept that this is what it is, right? I can choose to move forward. So all of these together create what's called psychological flexibility, which is essentially the ability to be okay in your own mind, even when it's playing those mental red flag tricks on you. Can't remember if I put another slide in or not, can you? No, it's the questions. I have one more thing that I do want to say, but I'm going to stop for questions first. Does anyone have any questions on that? It's a lot.
It's all interesting.
All interesting. I'm very...
Right, which number to these, a little bit of flat on the back. Near the end, you mentioned like, if I miss the fence or whatever, then I am X, Y, and Z. So you shouldn't say, not everyone to say these things. So
Yeah.
there are some positive ways that we can spin that around.
Yeah, so this is one thing, it's actually the thing that I wanted to mention. So when I think of self-talk in general, we have a couple different categories. We have motivational self-talk I'm awesome, I'm great, like, I'm strong, fantastic. We have demotivational self-talk, a lot of the mental red flags, I should be better, I'm not good at this. Mostly the mental red flags kind of cover the demotivational self-talk. And then we have instructional self-talk, right? So instructional self-talk is those cue words that we talked about of leg on, sit taller, especially in the moment, specifically applied to sports. The best thing that you can do to combat negative self-talk and mental red flags is to double down on your instructional self-talk. Because what those red flags are telling you is that you don't believe that you're good enough in this moment, right? You don't have a strong enough belief system to say I'm awesome and make it better. But what you can do is put your leg on, put your eyes up, and ride. And so when you've already decided that, hey, I'm gonna have some of these things come up that are gonna distract my focus and distract my attention, I need to choose to double down on the correct thoughts, the correct focus. And again, I just you can bring yourself back into the present moment with something that is instructional inside of your control and action-oriented right now. And then you work with someone like me on your belief system. And that's a little bit of a deeper dive, but I did put my QR code for an intake session on your worksheet. So I work via Zoom mostly. I have athletes all over the world, Texas, California, tons in the Midwest. My calendar app's super easy and adjusts to your time zone. So that's my little plug there.